I'm Becca Endicott.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mrs. Bernal.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
So you're here to interview for a position in occupational therapy with our company?
Yes, I am. I'm very interested.
Well, I have a few questions here for you. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. What is your personal philosophy of rehabilitation?
So my personal philosophy with rehabilitation, the reason I chose that major, was because I really enjoy helping people, and throughout my life I have always had a tenacious appetite to go out and help people in any way that I can. And as interviewing for this position as an occupational therapist, I know that as an occupational therapist I will be working with people, and sometimes they come from an injury and they don't have exactly the criteria that they had before, and so I'll be working with them to maintain what they can and be able to live their life to the fullest based off of that. And if I can help them get better in any way from that, then I will help them do that as well.
Okay. Why have you decided to pursue a career in the rehab field?
So the reason I decided to pursue a career in this field is that I've always been drawn to the aspect of helping people. I've always felt this inner need in order to do that, and I just don't feel fulfilled unless I'm doing a career with that. So I knew that going into this profession, it's exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to help people, but I didn't exactly know how, and when I looked into occupational therapy, I just knew that's exactly how I wanted to help people. And I really am all about helping people discover the talents and the aspects that they have. And I think that's a really cool thing about occupational therapy, is that we get to look at a person holistically. It's not just, oh, you had a sports injury and we're going to help you recover from that. There's really all these different aspects that come into it, and it's so cool to see how that can play out.
What do you feel you can personally contribute to our company?
So in regards to my personal attributes, I really think that I am very outgoing, I'm very sociable, I'm very easy to get along with, and that makes me easily placed in really any company, I feel. I haven't had too much trouble getting along with people throughout the years and different jobs that I've had, a wide array of different jobs that I've had. So I really think that's one of my strongest attributes, and I also don't really get down on myself too much. I really look at how I am doing as a person, and I always improve from the mistakes that I've made. And I feel that with this career, since it's so ever-changing and there's so many different aspects of it, since we're looking at a person holistically, I feel like that's a great attribute that I can bring in there, is that I'm very flexible with things. So I think that's how I could help your company very well.
Why would we choose you over someone else for this position?
So in regards to choosing to the other applicants, I feel that I have a lot of experiences that boost me up compared to everybody else. I worked at Miami Valley Tutoring Services, and I worked with kids with autism. And one of the things that we did there is very actually applicable and transferable to what I would do as an occupational therapist. So I worked with these kids with autism, and we implemented behavior plans. And by doing that, we definitely implemented socially acceptable behaviors. We had objectives for each goal, and I feel like that's one of the things, well, that is one of the things that we do in occupational therapy. We have objectives that we meet for the patient, we reevaluate them, and we go based off of what that is. And that's exactly what I was doing in that career, or in that job. I was evaluating the patient. After we evaluated them, we kind of saw where they were at in their schoolwork, and then we went from there. So I feel like I already have a lot of the experience that I would need going into this, and I'm very versatile. So in that career, there was some days some things would work for some patients, and some days some things wouldn't. And I feel like that's the same as occupational therapy. Some days some patients wouldn't want to cooperate, and I feel like that's one strength that I have already coming into that. Versus the other applicants, I'm not sure exactly what their career or their jobs were tied prior to this, But I feel like that's one of the strongest aspects that I have coming into this, is that I already have some of that field work that I have already hit the ground running, basically.
Okay. How do you feel that your education and your experience have prepared you to be successful in the career you've chosen?
Okay. So kind of bouncing back off that, as I talked about, I worked at Miami Valley Tutoring Services. I was in training to be a registered behavior technician, which I kind of already explained what I did there. I also have had very wide-ranging jobs. So I feel like I bring a vast experience from working at a place such as McDonald's, which it wouldn't seem like that would bring much to it, but that has the customer service aspect. I'm going to be dealing with people every day, and I feel like that already puts me a step up, even though a lot of people look down upon McDonald's. But having that experience with people and knowing that you're going to have people that come in that aren't going to be the nicest to you, and you really have to deal with that and not show that bothers you. And that's exactly how it's going to be in occupational therapy. You're going to get people someday that are going to be grumpy. They're not going to want to do their exercises. They're not going to want to cooperate. And you're going to have to come in there with a good attitude, and you're just going to have to work through it. And that's exactly what I had to do in customer service. And the same thing with my job at Miami Valley Tutoring Services. I had to come in with a good attitude, and some days some of the kids would work good for me, and some days they wouldn't. And that's just the factor of the job. And that's the factor of working with people and being involved in a helping profession. And so I really feel like having that background makes me more prepared coming into this job.
Please describe a challenge that you have faced in the past and how you dealt with the situation.
So a challenge that I've faced in the past, I feel, is with not being able to say no very often. I say yes to everything that I can. And in some ways that's really good. That means I'm a go-getter. That means that I'm ready to take on whatever it is. But in some aspects, I have a hard time backing down from something when I know I can't carry it with my load. And so that's something that over my undergraduate years, I've really had to readjust and realign my goals and my missions for myself. As in, when I take something on, I want to make sure that it aligns with what is this helping me meet? What objective is this helping me meet in my life? And making sure that it's realigning with what I need to accomplish for myself. And I feel like by doing that, it really has helped me take on the things that I should take on and kind of lay off on the things that I shouldn't. So for example, if I'm tutoring students and I know that these students aren't coming prepared, they come to the session and they're like, I need extra time. Well, we're not really required to give them that extra time. And so for students in the past, like when I first started out as a tutor, I would offer to give them extra time, or I would offer them all these extra supplemental instruction materials. And I realized that it shouldn't be put on me, that this student should want to come to the session prepared. They should want to come and ready to learn. And if they're not coming prepared, I should not have to go that extra mile for them to be able to do well in the class. At some point, it falls back on the student. It shouldn't fall back on me. And that is one thing that's been really hard for me to accept, because I want to see those students do well and I really want them to go after and get that good grade. But at some point, it all boils down to the student and how they want to do. So that's really hard.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
So 10 years from now, I would probably say I would hope to kind of be established in my career, finishing up. So I would be an established occupational therapist. I'd probably be a little bit new to the field still, but I would hope to see myself thriving in there, still doing research, still really encompassing myself in knowledge. I really believe in continuing education, and I'm constantly learning new things every day, and I never want that to cease. I always want that to be a part of my life, and I even think that once I'm established in my career, I still want that to be a big factor of who I am and the work that I do. And so I really hope to continue that, and I also hope to maybe be settled down with a family and start to establish kind of my personal life as well as my career.
Very good. Do you have any questions about our current position?
I guess I have a few. So how many specialties do you guys offer in your network?
We have multiple lines of specialties. There's multiple layers of rehabilitation, which you know that as you're studying it. So we have multiple layers and a steady ladder to climb that you
Okay.
can build your career on.
Awesome. And how many hours do you guys require a week for us to work?
The hours vary on clients, as you know. Insurance is very tricky with clientele, but you also have, as the occupational therapist, you know that you set up the plan and the goals, and so you oversee that. So you have your paperwork time, and you also have your client time, and continuing education time. So generally, you're probably going to get full-time hours.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions that I have for you today.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to interview me today. It was really nice to get to know you.
Pleasure meeting
My name
you.
is Becca again.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.